Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson, lesson 54 of the Content Modeling Weekly course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. Today, we're going to create a content model to support team pages, specifically to hold all the people that you want to display in various team pages in your delivery channels. And we're going to do that by looking at Microsoft's team page. I picked that randomly. And we're going to reverse engineer it, if I can say that. And then we're going to build that content model together. Then you can take that model in Miro board and apply it to your Headless CMS. So why don't we go ahead and jump right in. And of course, we have our trusty Miro board here. Let's go a little larger here. And what we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to review the web page. So, you know, my process with content modeling, I always like to work with a team of people that involve developers, authors, content strategists, and a content architect in the middle of it. So somebody like me that can guide everybody and create that content model. So we're going to pretend we had all those people and we agreed on certain things here as we move along. But here you can see Microsoft's Who We Are page, which is their team page. And you can see their senior leadership, board of directors, employees, and alumni. If we dig further, you can see under executive officers, it's just a landing page with all of the people, their images and information about them. The same thing with the, let's see, this is the board members. This one is the executive officers. And then under the alumni, they have staff and trustees. Now, for employees, if we go back here, this is more of a landing page, not specifically bringing up employees, but really just talking about the different all the people in Microsoft and talking about the lifestyle working there. So we're not going to do that part because that part can be handled via a landing page creation content model, which we already covered in other lessons. So you can look at the Content Modeling Weekly for that. Now, so we're going to focus on the all the people pages here. Now imagine that and I'm sure Microsoft not only uses it here, but I'm sure they share some of this information in various other channels. So our goal here is to create a content model that can store all of these people, their levels, their titles, and everything else we're going to need, and then reuse it and display it wherever we want to. So why don't we start with, let's go ahead and close this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close up the page here. Okay, and let's start with we have the executive officers right there. This one's going to be the board member, so we'll keep it nice and organized. So we'll start with the executive officers. This is a landing page. So we know that for a team, we have people. So what I'm going to do, let's go larger here. And for those of you that are new, you know, I have a template available. Just go to the Content Modeling Weekly and you can get, you can see the template there. But I have some standards where I have fields, reference fields, media fields. It doesn't matter which Headless CMS you use, you'll be able to move this model into your Headless CMS. Okay, so having said that, let's jump in. I just got a little notice that there's an issue with LinkedIn. Unfortunately, we can't control that. Okay. Let's start with, we're going to create a people content type. Well, and the people content type, we know that it's going to hold, and in fact, instead of people, we're going to call it person. We're going to call it person. And we're going to have a first name and a last name, because we know that people have at least a first name and a last name. Let's do that. Okay, so we have that content type. So if we go back here, we could start creating a bunch of these people and give them the first name and last name. But let's look at a little bit more of the detail of each person. So if I click on the detail, we can see that we have some description about them, like a bio. We have also their title, some social media links. And it looks like there's some sort of press contact, so somehow how to get in contact with them. And then they're tracking your speeches. We'll cover that later. But then they have a variety of photos. They have web and print photos, right? So if you want to print it or if you want to display it on the website. Okay, so Why don't we start with, we know we have a thumbnail photo as well. So this is the process of analyzing this. We're not creating a page, right? We're not going to say, hey, we're going to create a landing page that has a box and then we can add an image. We're analyzing the content in the page regardless of the design and creating a scalable content model that can be reused in multiple delivery channels. So a person has a first name, last name. We know it has a title. So we're going to put title and we're going to put a bio. Now I'm going to say bio long and bio short. I'll explain that in just a minute. Let's do this just in case, just to make it a little bit more scalable. So we'll do bio long, and this is going to be type RTF. And bio short, we're also going to make it type RTF. And the reason I'm doing that is because we may want to have a long version of the bio of the person and then a short version that could be displayed maybe as a summary on some landing page before they click onto the full detail, or it could be read by an IoT device, right? For example, or on a mobile app, so we want to give that option right there. So we're going to do that. So we have the first name, last name, title, bio. So now we have the ability to do bio. We have here social media, but here, for example, Judson, if I'm pronouncing his name right, he has Twitter and LinkedIn. But let's see if we look at another one, like John, no social media, and no social media. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's another one that has social media, but like a variety. Okay, it looks like most of them don't have social media. That's funny. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have a component called social media that's gonna have a type and a URL, and I'll explain that in just a minute because I want to make this kind of scalable. This is going to be a component. So components for me are red. In certain CMSs, components are content types, and other CMSs, components are actual components that are reused and don't affect your content type. So remember, a component is the structure that you want to use. It doesn't hold content in itself. It holds content in context of where you're using that component. For example, we're going to add a component here called, or we're going to add a field called social media links, which is going to be 0 to many to social media component. Okay. So we're going to allow the ability, this is going to be a component reference. So it's going to here. It's going to allow me to select the type of component, and I'll explain that in just a minute, the type of social media, and give it the URL. So when we're adding, for a person, we can add their Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is. So this gives me the ability to do 0 to many. 0 meaning like some of them, as you saw, some of them don't have any social media, or at least they don't want to show it. Okay, so what is this type thing? Well, this type thing is going to be the ability, instead of having the user type in the word Twitter every single time they enter here, we're going to have a social media type, which will be a name and maybe code ID. We may not need the code ID, but this is going to be a content type for single source of truth that's going to hold, for example, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, any other social media you want. Okay, and then the type is going to be a reference one-to-one to social media type. Okay, so now what we're starting to do here is we're going to have components. This component is use a content type, which will be handled. The nice thing about this is this will be handled by an admin. So we're going to put content governance around here. Not anybody can create a social media type, right? Like add a Twitter, because that affects the code. It may affect the icon that you want to display, so on and so forth. Now notice I'm not putting like icon. You could expand here, and if you want to put icon, but then the icon is what? The icon on the mobile app or the icon on the website? Every delivery channel may display a different kind of icon. You may leave that up to the delivery channel to decide how to display. If we go back here, You see Twitter and LinkedIn, it's a black on white icon, right? Here, you may want to display the actual colors of the icon somewhere else. So I would leave that up, honestly, to the delivery channel and not even store it in the headless CMS, because then it becomes truly scalable. Okay, so now we have, this would be like this. Whoop, let's do that again. It goes here. Okay, perfect. All right, and let's go back to here, and obviously this goes to here. Okay, so now we have the ability to create a person, give it a title, multiple bios, depending on what we want to display, and give it 0 to many social medias, right? So now we're able to provide 2 links here if we want to. For other people, there will be no entries for that. Okay, continuing down, this is all part of the bio right there, right? Now we have photos, and you can see here there is, for every photo, there's a web version and a print version. If we look at another entry, you'll see here's 4 different versions of the photo that they have, right? So, or actually a lot more, you can see, but all of them have web and print. So there's a couple of ways of handling this, right? You can see, or you can talk to your team, but go, okay, do you want to control that print version and upload it as a print version, or would you like to use an image transformation system, which most headless CMSs will have an image API and allow you to transform, and you can do this automatically? Or do you want to truly control that print because you want to specifically give it some specs, and you want to have the designers control that fully? I'm going to vote for the image transformation API, which you can do with most headless CMSs, or use some sort of digital asset management system API for that. So I'm going to vote for that. So that means that for every image, it'll automatically offer this. And when you click on it, the image API, the image transformation API will create that print or web version. All we have to do is upload one. So what do we need to do here? We have photos. So what we're going to do, let's go back to the content model, and we're going to say photos, and we're going to go 0 to many, because maybe we don't have photos for this person. Let's just leave it as doing it optional, right? So before we type in what we want to do, we know it's going to be a reference, so that's a reference. And then we're going to create a content type that's going to be person photo. And it's going to have, and actually this is probably going to be a component as well, right? And let's see, what do we want to store for the photo? It's just going to be basically, it's going to be a media type, just a simple media type. Maybe, let's see if we click on it. I guess if we click on it, it just takes you to it. There's no metadata or anything like that. Okay, cool. So we're going to do person photo, and it's going to be media. Now, like I mentioned, if we wanted to do, we could do a web and a print if you wanted to actually do it separately like that, right? And let's pretend we do that. We're going to do a component that does that. This is going to be a type of media. All headless CMSs have a media type. And type media. Okay, like that. All right. So we're going to do that, and it's going to be, instead of it's a reference, but it's a reference to a component, right? So we're going to do 0 to many to person photo, like that. So now when you create the entry, this is a component, right? So it'll inline the 2 fields, the web and print, that they're going to be able to choose, and they're going to be able to enter as many as they want. Now, maybe what I want to do, even though it's a component, that's fine. I may want to, just because, to name it. So we'll just say name. I may want to have the author name this. So maybe we, on the web page, maybe they want to name it if they wanted to. I don't know. I'm just adding that for scalability in the future. But now we have the ability to basically create or add as many photos as we want, both web and print version. Now remember, we could get rid of this, the print, and just make it media, and then use the image transformation API to allow that to create a web version or a print version. But we're gonna go and do this just to keep it simple there. Okay, so now we're able to add as many images as we want here. And we know which one's the web and which one's the print. So that's taken care of. Now we do need a thumbnail. Now, again, you could use image transformation API to create the thumbnail, or you can allow them to basically add a thumbnail. And there's multiple ways of handling that. We could, under photos, okay, there's this way where we can do thumbnail, and it's going to be 0 to 1. We're going to make it optional because in some places we may not have to show the thumbnail, but we'll make it 0 to 1. Actually, we're just going to say type media optional. Okay, so it'll be like that. So this is going to be a media type, and the media is this color. That's my standard that I use. Up to you to do whichever one you want. So that's a media, and we'll make this and this, that's standard as well. Media. Okay. So there you have it. Now we have the thumbnail, right? So you would pick a thumbnail.